The smell in here is very interesting because I can smell the marshmallows. They smell very sweet, they smell delicious, and then the cabbage smells like a fart. So it smells like a very sugary fart in my kitchen right now. Hello and welcome back, guys. I think it's been just about a year, maybe a little over a year. I can't quite remember since the last time we were in this kitchen recreating vintage recipes together, with the exception of doing some of the interview recipes with Nani and Arlene, and I don't believe David and I cooked anything. This series that we're doing, we're going to continue with the Women's World magazine from the 1920s. It's a little later in the series. This is the Salads and Sandwiches book. We'll see if it'll focus on there. Yeah, there you go. And it's a few years later than the 52 Sunday dinners that we did. Interestingly enough, some of these recipes are written similarly to the recipes that we saw before. If you remember before, they're kind of just a stream of consciousness half the time of the recipes. And some of the times with this one, they're like that. Some of the times they're written out like modern recipes. So we have this one here. It's got the ingredients like you would see today, and then the instructions like you would see today. We are going to be starting with the Novelty cabbage salad, which I thought sounded pretty interesting, kind of weird, kind of fun. We're going to see how it goes. With this salad, our sandwich we're going to pair it with, which makes zero sense, but they don't give any actual pairings together. They just give a whole list of the salads. Yes, salads, that's what we're doing. They give a whole list of the salads and then a whole list of sandwiches. So I kind of just went through, looked at the sandwiches they had on offer and thought, why not try these nut butter sandwiches? That's the one right there. So that's what we're gonna pair this one with and try together. I have no idea if they'll be any good together. I have no idea if they'll be any good separate. You know, some of these things are not quite what we are familiar with today. Maybe some of these things you remember from before. I can tell you, looking at the salad and even the sandwich, definitely not something I have ever had in my life, something I'm not at all familiar with, but let's just try it out, I suppose, and see what happens. The recipe starts with 1 head of cabbage chopped after being blanched in cold water. So when I think of blanched, maybe similar to what you think of, maybe you think of something different, is putting it in hot water first for a few moments and then pulling it out and putting it into cold water. I don't know if that's what it means, but it says blanching in cold water. So I assume it means just get this very cold and chilled, dip it in maybe some ice water. Mine's been sitting in the fridge for several days, so I feel like that's probably similar. This also calls for it to be finely, oh, okay. It says chopped fine after doing that. So I assume it wants it nice and cold and then it wants it chopped fine. Something that many of you, if this is not your first time, if you are coming here from watching me in the 52 Sunday Dinners project, you might remember that I have a terrible memory. So I know that we talked about chopping and shredding cabbage finely before, and I can't remember if that meant to chop it finely with the knife, if that meant to use the shredder. Quite frankly, I don't remember. You guys are going to have to refresh me on everything that I've forgotten in the last year, which I think is maybe kind of good. You have some more insight to give me again. It takes me a few times sometimes. But we're just gonna chop this up to what seems kind of finely to me and go from there. If you are all cringing watching me do this and you're like, oh my gosh, Ashley, we talked about this, come on. I apologize. I don't mean to stress you out. It kind of stresses me out a little bit being back again for the first time doing this in a while. I'm very excited to be back with you guys. I miss you tremendously, but it is a little bit stressful because I'm like, I should be an expert. I did this every single week for a year and you guys taught me so many different things, and now I'm back and I'm like a perfect idiot again. I don't remember what I'm doing, so I'm sorry if I disappoint any of you. Let's see. This looks kind of finely chopped. I don't know if it wants long strips or if it wants little pieces. chopped fine. It probably, oh, that's cabbage. It looked like, I don't know if you could see it from there, this little spot on my knife here kind of looked like mayonnaise or something. And I was trying to figure out how in the world I got mayonnaise on my knife. It's just cabbage, don't worry. Not that you'd be worried. But also I realized I didn't pull my hair back and it's in my face, so hold on a second. We're gonna go ahead and finally chop all this stuff. And also, I guess it has been a while since I have talked to you guys and you have seen me. I chopped all my hair off. So, I mean, not all of it. There's still some stuck up there. But it's been years since I have cut my hair. I've had my hair short, and to me this is short, maybe once in the last 12, 15 years. I almost always have exclusively long hair. And every time I go into the stylist, hairdresser, I go in with the intention and I say, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to cut it all off this time. And every time I go in and I say, just trim it, because I chicken out. I don't know what it is, because it's not like I do anything with my hair. I just put it up or leave it down. I can't do my hair. I'm not that kind of a girl. So this year on our goals list, so we don't make New Year's resolutions, we kind of make a list of goals we want to complete throughout that year, and then we go back the following year and we determine whether we completed those goals and how to adjust them. This year on my goals list was cut my hair for real this time, and I finally did it. I finally went in and I found someone whom I love. She is fabulous. Her name is Heather. I actually went to high school with her. So I travel back home now. You know, I've done it twice because I only cut my hair once every 12 to 18, sometimes 24 months. But yeah, so none of that is important. I don't know why I just told you all that. But anyhow, I cut my hair. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I'm just going to keep chopping this cabbage here. All right, I'm going to chop the rest of this up and then I'll catch up with you. We have all of our cabbage here. And now we are going to take our marshmallows and cut them into quarters. Ooh, I got a little cabbage in my marshmallow bowl. I am hoping this is a similar-ish size. I don't know if they would have used commercial marshmallows back then, if they would have made their own marshmallows back then. Probably should have researched it. But I'm just going by my basic knowledge right now. So we're going with quarters. They're very sticky. Good thing my hands are clean. And it doesn't want us to mix these up until it's ready. So I'm just going to flop them right back in this bowl so they can all stick together. Seems like a okay enough idea. Maybe they'll come apart once we get them all mixed in. Maybe we get a little aggressive with the mixing. I don't know. Or maybe someone just ends up with a bite that has like 6/4 of a marshmallow stuck together. Marshmallows and cabbage. I don't know. Does this seem like a combination to you guys that would be delicious? It seems a little weird. Although a lot of these things have seemed weird and I ended up really liking them. But I can tell you right now, the smell in here is very interesting because I can smell the marshmallows. They smell very sweet, they smell delicious, and then the cabbage smells like a fart. So it smells like a very sugary fart in my kitchen right now, which is a very confusing smell, quite frankly. Maybe that's a little vulgar to say, but it's my kitchen, so I will say vulgar things if I want to. We have to scald this milk first. And one thing I'm very glad that I have learned about these recipes is that you have to read them all the way through first, because if you look at this recipe, it starts out, well, it doesn't start out with the dressing part. It says, make this dressing of this, 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 and this. And so in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm going to mix all of these things. And then you read a little bit further and it's like, okay, actually scald the milk and then add this and then add this and then add this. You don't want to add all these things together first. You have to do a few steps in between adding all of them. So right now we're scalding the milk. I have the egg whites already whipped. We have to whip the, I don't remember if it says whip or stir. I'll show you here and I'll remember. In the time that you're seeing this. But the yolks and the vinegar I think we have to put together, and then we put everything together after that with the flour, the salt, the sugar. I am still gluten-free currently, so we are going to use a gluten-free flour for that. I have all that measured out already, so right now we're just scalding this milk, and I'll be right back with all the other ingredients. We have our scalded milk here. I have my sugar and salt to mix in with it. Well, that was the sugar. Apparently the salt must have gotten a little moisture in it because it's sticking there. Come on, salt. Ah, it's very hot. And now we have our gluten-free flour. I use the King Arthur 1-to-1 gluten-free ratio. Just mixing that up and thickening it. Woo. Turn the heat off there. Just kidding, I wasn't supposed to turn the heat off. It says when it starts to thicken, that's when we mix in the egg yolks mixed with the vinegar. So we have our vinegar here. It doesn't specify which type of vinegar. I ended up using white vinegar. I'm sure apple cider would have been fine. All right. Breaking open. Oh, you can't see that. I have broken open the yolks there. And now, let's give you a little view of it. This double boiler noise is kind of hilarious. And also kind of annoying. This is thick-ish. I mean, it's not super thick, but it's thick enough. I mean, that's not really helpful showing you that. It still looks pretty thin, but it's thicker than it was before. So we're going to add these egg yolks in. Again, finding this recipe a little humorous because it says to add 2 eggs together, and then you read a little bit further in the recipe and it's like, oh, put the 2 egg yolks and, or the beaten egg yolks. And you're like, what do you mean the beaten egg yolks? At no point did you tell me to separate these egg yolks from the egg whites. You just said 2 eggs, which I suppose maybe is a little bit of reading comprehension. Maybe at this point recipes have become so dumbed down, and I myself am very guilty of this. I'm kind of a lazy reader. I don't want to read the whole thing and then go back, so I just go in the order of what it says and immediately am like, okay, it says do this, then do that. I don't go through and let them tell me further beyond that. In my head, what I'm saying is making sense. Is what I'm saying making sense to you? I don't know. But we are to then, I guess, let this thicken up a little bit and then take it off the fire and add our beaten egg whites, which we have already beaten over here. Nice stiff peaks there. Oh, there were stiff peaks, and then I did this, and there's some white coming out the bottom there. So we may need to redo. Oh yeah, it's the top are stiff peaks, but the bottom is straight up albumin. So we're gonna have to do a little more beating of these whites. Hold please. We have beaten more of our egg whites in there. Actually, when I pulled it out, there's only like this much egg white in the bottom, but dang if it didn't, you know, fluff up like crazy, and now we have a lot more egg white. So I've turned off the heat. No more fire there. This is thicker. We're just going to stir in our whites while it is still hot. And try not to lose all of the volume of them there. And I believe we need to let this cool and then mix it in with the rest of the salad ingredients, which are the marshmallows cut in quarters and the cabbage, sliced finely, chopped finely. I don't know what I'm saying. Apparently that Olipop got me drunk. I don't know. There we go. That's kind of what we're looking at. Looks interesting. I forgot to mention the English walnuts that are broken but not chopped. So I don't know, again, quite what that means. These are broken into pieces. I pulled the halves. Oh, I guess I missed one. The things that were halves I kind of pulled out and left the broken pieces, but I don't know if I should kind of smash them up a little bit more into smaller pieces because, I don't know, these just seem a little excessive compared to the finely chopped little pieces of cabbage. So maybe I will just kind of smash them up a little bit more as we put them in with the rest of this. The other thing it says is to add finely or sliced. Does it say sliced? Do not use lettuce leaves, but garnish with red and green sweet peppers cut into strips. Okay, so we have little green peppers. Ooh, this smells nice. I love the smell of a pepper. I have a little fruit fly flying around here. It's getting on my nerves tremendously. All right. So we have some strips. Also, it says red. I did have a couple of red peppers to use for this recipe specifically, and then I ate a salad last night. I don't know. I ate a salad last night and used up the red pepper because I forgot I needed it for this recipe. So we're going to use orange, and we are all going to collectively use our imaginations and pretend that this is red. I figure probably our grandmothers, great-grandmothers, you know, they would have done the same thing. If they didn't have a red pepper and they only had orange, they wouldn't be like, well, I guess we can't make this salad now. I mean, maybe some of them would, but most of them likely would have been like, well, I guess the red pepper is an orange pepper now, and if you don't like it, then I guess don't eat it and go hungry. That's what I would have told my children if I lived in the 1920s and they didn't want to eat this because it was an orange pepper and not a red. Something else I was thinking about with this recipe is the marshmallows. When I had the choice of what marshmallows to purchase, I thought, well, I could just get some mini marshmallows because that's probably the same thing. And then I thought, well, no, that's not authentic to the recipe. But then I thought, you know, and I didn't buy it, but in my head I thought, if these women had the option to skip that step and to buy the mini marshmallows, they would have done it. They definitely would have bought the mini marshmallows and put them in there. And I believe that's probably evidenced by the fact that shortly thereafter, all of these Midwestern recipes of salads and things that we have tons of mini marshmallows in them, not chopped marshmallows in quarters or thirds or whatever it is. They just use a bag of it, dump it in there, save some time, and move on. These women would have done the same thing. While we wait for the dressing for the salad to cool, we'll get into our nut butter sandwiches. I've bought the natural peanut butter that has nothing but peanuts in it, and it's, you know, separated. I poured out all of the top and got to the bottom where it was, you know, like the thicker, dry peanut butter, because I figured that's probably closer to what it would have been back then. And I mixed it with, it says thick cream. I don't know what thick cream was supposed to be, so we did heavy whipping cream. So we're going to mix that up. And then I have a little bit of cayenne pepper here, and we've got some salt that we're going to put in. The other thing with this sandwich, we're making a couple substitutions, so forgive me for that, bear with me. One of them is, it wants raisin bread, and several of you know, like I mentioned before, I am currently gluten-free, so the bread that I bought, I couldn't find any gluten-free raisin bread, and I have not started an attempt to learn to make my own gluten-free bread because, again, many of you know I'm not a baker. I'm not good at baking, so any attempt at even making regular bread would be terrible, more than likely. I'm guessing gluten-free bread that I would try to bake would be an absolute disaster. It would not taste good, so I got regular white bread, and I stuck some raisins in it. I am aware that this is not even close and is kind of ridiculous, but you know what? We gotta do what we gotta do here. The other thing is I don't have any quince or damson jelly. I believe damson is a type of plum jelly. I have quince bushes with quince fruit on it. I just have not gotten into making any jelly with it yet. I do plan on eventually doing that, but I figured the closest that I had, I mean, I could use apple jelly, but a lot of my apple jelly isn't super sour, and I think that's kind of like the damson, the plum jelly, or the quince jam would be a little bit sour. So I have a friend who made me some rhubarb butter. Rhubarb is a little bit tart and sour, so I thought that would be a good alternative. I'm going to, this is starting to get stirred in there, but really it's kind of just like a lump of peanut butter with some cream on it. So give me a second to mix all this up. I'll be right back. Okay, it's mostly mixed up a little bit better now. I don't know what the texture of it is now. It's definitely not as thin as what I was expecting. I was expecting with that all of the cream in there that it would be much more thin, but it certainly is not. We're gonna sprinkle a little bit of cayenne in there, which I think is kind of interesting. I like that. And we have a little bit of salt. And mix that up a little bit. Spread it on this raisin bread. I don't know how much of the peanut butter they actually would have put on there. Spread this. Okay, so I believe it appears put peanut butter on both slices and then jelly on just one. And I imagine the amount of peanut butter I use now to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, when I make it for my husband, I can't say that I have eaten a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in many, 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 many years. I actually don't remember the last time I did that, even as a child. But when I make it for my husband, I put a lot of peanut butter on there. I'm guessing back then they would not have put quite the amount of peanut butter that I have normalized in my home, so we'll spread it a little more thin. It is hard to get this spread around the raisins because they're just popping out here, which is to be expected because they're not baked in here. I just kind of shoved them in there. It's kind of comical over here. All right, good. This looks terrible. All right, good enough. Let's get this rhubarb butter. Okay. Oh, that smells so nice. I haven't tasted this yet. It smells fabulous. Oh, that's good. It's like perfectly tart and sweet. I think this is a very good substitute for our quince jelly. I love rhubarb. It's so good. All right. And I pinky promised I switched spoons. My licked spoon is down there. Okay. Whoop. Ooh, you know what else would have been a good substitute? If it would have actually turned out to be a jelly, it would have been that wild grape jelly I attempted to make last year or the year before. And if you remember that, it was also a disaster. It turned out to be more like a wild grape marinade. It was excessively tart. It actually tasted pretty good. Just very, very, very tart. And it did not set up. But that's because I cooked a batch that was like this big. It was so huge, and then I tried to cook it with only like an hour to do it all because we had to go somewhere in the evening. Yeah, it was, as many things are in this kitchen, it was a disaster, but we kept it, and I use it as a marinade sometimes, put it in the slow cooker when I'm doing a pork roast or whatever. Not that, I mean, I don't know what that has to do with this, but anyhow, if that would have set up, that would have been perfect for this. So we have our Sammy here. Now let's put together our cabbage salad. I put the walnuts in this little baggie and just kind of took this thing and crushed them down a little bit to make them a little bit smaller, but not chopped. Dump those in there. Dump our quartered marshmallows. Right. And then we have our dressing, which has cooled a little bit. It's pretty thick. Weird looking. Dump it all in. It's very interesting looking. The marshmallows, some of them are breaking up. Yeah, there we go. We'll try and manual break. manually break some of those up. So I'm just trying to imagine how this is going to turn out. Starting to plate this up here. I've got some marshmallows, some cabbage, some nuts, a nice mixture of everything in here. And I'm not quite sure. Garnish? How shall we garnish this? Ooh, that should be nice. We'll kind of do a little starburst pattern. All right, what do you think? That's all right. Lunch on those later. Yeah, that's nice. Look at that plate. That plate doesn't look too shabby. I mean, I can't say that it looks like something I would be served and be like, oh yes, this looks like it's going to be absolutely delicious. But you know what? I've got a little curiosity here. Let's see what it tastes like. I'm going to start with the salad and try that first because I am very curious about it. I certainly smell the vinegar, which is something I am a big fan of, so if it's got vinegar, I am typically down. Although how vinegar is going to taste with cabbage and marshmallows is something I am not confident about, but let's give it a try. This is not as unpleasant as I expected. I didn't get a bite of the marshmallow in it yet. I could kind of taste, like, you know, you get like that marshmallow dust. I feel it in my mouth a little bit. And I could taste it, but I didn't get a big marshmallow bite yet. So let's get a little bit of that marshmallow in there before I give you a definitive answer of how I feel about it. You know what? This actually isn't terrible. The crunchiness of the cabbage is very nice. The softness of the marshmallows is nice. The cabbage is a lot more mild than I expected. Now, is this something that I would be like, oh, this was so good, I would definitely make it again? No, but it's not as crazy as I first expected when reading this. Like, you think, okay, cabbage, marshmallows, some type of boiled vinegar dressing. Kind of weird at first thought, but not bad. I want to taste it with the peppers. Yeah, I think I'd leave the peppers just as a garnish and not eat them with that because they have a very distinct taste. And again, not the worst thing I've ever had, but it just doesn't go well, I think, with the flavors of this for me. Now, if you were used to this salad back in the day and peppers were something you were used to having with it, then, you know, go for it. But for me, I'd leave the peppers off. Now, here is our sandwich. I don't know if you can see the raisins here have just sort of gone from inside of the bread into the filling, but you know, we gotta do what we can do with what we're working with. It smells quite lovely. I'm interested to taste the cayenne in here. You've got that nice nutty earthy flavor of the peanuts. You've got the sweet and the tart of the jelly and the sweet of the raisins. I'm kind of interested with that kind of spice of the cayenne. Kind of interesting. All right. It's pretty good. The cayenne is an interesting addition because I don't taste it so much as I feel it after I've swallowed and breathed out. I can feel the heat on my tongue, on the roof of my mouth, kind of in the back of my throat. As I breathe out and swallow, I can feel it, like physically, a little bit of a sting, and it's kind of pleasant, but I don't taste it as much while I'm eating it. But overall, I don't think there's anything profound about this. I think I've discovered I do like peanut butter and jelly. It's a nice combination. The addition of the raisins, maybe if it were raisin bread and not me sticking just raisins inside of the bread, because it's a little bit throwing me off a little bit here. but overall, kind of good. Tell me, is this something that seems familiar to you? Do you, when you use your peanut butter with your peanut butter and jelly, do you add cream to it and whip it up like that? This cabbage salad with the marshmallows, especially those of you in the Midwest, is that anything that's familiar to you? Share all of those things with me, or anything that you would like all of us to know about anything that you find familiar with these sandwiches. I'm just so glad. I'm so glad to be back here with you guys. I can't even tell you how excited I am to be talking to you again, trying these recipes again. If you like what you saw today, join us next time, where I think I'm gonna do a lemon prune sandwich with a tuna salad. So I'll see you next time for that. Bye guys.